Randy Savage, born Randall Mario Poffo, entered the world on November 15, 1952, in Columbus, Ohio. From the very beginning, his life seemed destined to revolve around the world of sports and entertainment. His father, Angelo Poffo, was not just a parent but also a professional wrestler, known in the ring for his strength and charisma. Growing up in such an environment gave young Randy an early exposure to the glitz, challenges, and discipline that professional wrestling demanded. His mother, Judy, played the balancing role at home, ensuring that Randy and his younger brother, Lanny, had a sense of normalcy despite their father's high-profile career. Lanny, who would later be known as the Genius in wrestling, shared Randy's passion for the sport, creating a unique bond between the brothers. Childhood for Randy Savage was far from ordinary. Wrestling was often discussed at the family dinner table, and it wasn't unusual to see his father training or preparing for matches. While some children dreamed of superheroes, Randy's heroes were real. His father and other wrestlers he watched perform. This constant exposure lit a spark inside him, planting the seed for the career he would later pursue. Yet, while wrestling was ever present in his life, Randy initially found his heart drawn toward another sport, baseball. As a child, Randy showed incredible athleticism. He was highly competitive, always striving to be the best in every physical activity he tried. At Downers Grove North High School in Illinois, where the family eventually settled, he excelled in multiple sports. However, baseball soon became his primary focus. A left-handed hitter with an impressive swing, he earned recognition for his skill and discipline on the field. His determination and talent eventually led him to pursue a professional career in baseball after graduation. He signed with minor league teams, including affiliates of the St. Louis Cardinals and the Cincinnati Reds, showcasing his abilities as an outfielder. Despite his undeniable passion and effort, Randy's baseball career faced challenges. Injuries and the grueling nature of the sport made it difficult for him to reach the major leagues. Still, these years were not wasted. They taught him resilience, the value of hard work, and the discipline that would later define his wrestling persona. Parallel to his athletic journey, Randy's education remained an important part of his upbringing. His parents emphasized the value of academics alongside sports, though his focus always leaned toward the physical and competitive aspects of life. In his teenage years, when baseball wasn't occupying his time, he often watched wrestling matches with his father or trained in the basics of grappling and physical conditioning. This combination of influences, his father's wrestling career, his own love for sports, and the challenges he faced in baseball, helped shape his unique identity. By the time he began to consider a full-time career in wrestling, Randy Savage had already developed the toughness, charisma, and determination that would later make him one of the most iconic figures in sports entertainment. His early years, filled with family influence, athletic passion, and relentless drive, laid the perfect foundation for the Macho Man the world would soon come to know. The journey of Randy Savage into the world of professional wrestling was anything but conventional. Unlike many wrestlers who began their careers in school gyms or through amateur circuits, Randy's path was influenced deeply by his family, his athletic background, and the setbacks he faced in baseball. Wrestling had always been in his blood. His father, Angelo Poffo, was a respected wrestler in the 1950s and 1960s, and his younger brother, Lanny Poffo, would also become a professional wrestler. Yet, Randy initially resisted the pull of wrestling, instead devoting himself to baseball. It was only after his baseball dreams faltered that he fully embraced the family tradition. Savage spent several years in the minor leagues after high school, playing as an outfielder for farm teams connected to the St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and later the Chicago White Sox. He was known for his work ethic and fiery competitiveness, but recurring injuries, particularly to his throwing arm, hindered his progress. By the mid-1970s, it became clear that his chances of reaching Major League Baseball were slim. This was a crushing reality for Randy, who had dedicated much of his youth to the sport. However, the disappointment became a turning point. He decided to channel his athletic drive and larger-than-life energy into wrestling, a world he had grown up around, but never fully embraced until then. His father, Angelo, was instrumental in guiding him through this transition. He taught Randy the fundamentals of wrestling, grappling, holds, ring psychology, and the grueling physical conditioning required to succeed. Randy also observed his father's charisma in the ring, and learned how showmanship was as important as athleticism. At the same time, his younger brother Lenny was developing his own wrestling skills, giving Randy a sparring partner and a companion in the early stages of his training. In 1973, Randy officially began his wrestling career under his real name Randy Poffo. However, he quickly realized that he needed a distinctive persona to stand out in the competitive world of territorial wrestling. A trainer once commented that Randy wrestled like a savage, a phrase that stuck with him. Inspired by this, he adopted the name Randy Savage, a moniker that captured both his intensity and his wild, unpredictable style. It was the beginning of the transformation into the Macho Man. Randy's first professional breaks came in smaller regional promotions run by his father, where he learned the ropes and built confidence as a performer. But his real test came when he began working for established wrestling territories in the South and Midwest. He wrestled in promotions such as International Championship Wrestling, ICW, a company founded by his father and brother, which gave him the freedom to develop his character. Savage's aggressive in-ring style, unique raspy voice, and flamboyant persona quickly made him stand out. By the late 1970s, Randy Savage had gained a reputation as a fiery competitor who could captivate crowds with his energy and charisma. His combination of athletic skill from baseball, the training instilled by his father, and his own relentless drive turned him into a rising star. What began as a backup plan after baseball evolved into the path that would make him a wrestling legend. By the early 1980s, Randy Savage had built a reputation as one of the most intense and captivating wrestlers on the independent circuit, but his real breakthrough came when he signed with the World Wrestling Federation, WWF, in 1985. From the moment he arrived, Savage carried himself like a superstar. His flamboyant outfits, sunglasses, colorful robes, and deep raspy voice set him apart immediately. Fans knew they were witnessing something special. Vince McMahon, WWF's head promoter, marketed him as a hot new talent, and Savage did not disappoint. One of Savage's earliest defining moments came with the introduction of his real-life wife, Miss Elizabeth, as his on-screen manager. Unlike most managers at the time who were loud and brash, Elizabeth was quiet, elegant, and graceful. This contrast made her the perfect counterpart to Savage's wild intensity. The dynamic between them became one of the most iconic partnerships in wrestling history, with fans emotionally invested in their story both inside and outside the ring. Savage's first major feud in the WWF was with Tito Santana over the Intercontinental Championship. After a series of heated matches, Savage captured the title in 1986 with the help of his brass knuckles. A controversial victory that solidified his role as a villain, but it was his legendary match against Ricky, the Dragon, Steamboat at WrestleMania 3 in 1987 that catapulted him into wrestling immortality. The bout is still regarded as one of the greatest matches in wrestling history. Savage and Steamboat meticulously planned every sequence, creating a fast-paced, emotionally charged contest that left fans breathless. Behind the scenes, many wrestlers admired Savage's obsessive attention to detail in scripting the match. In front of 93 valued fans at the Pontiac Silverdome, Savage lost the title to Steamboat, but in doing so, he won the respect of fans and critics worldwide. Savage's career reached new heights in 1988 when he captured the vacant WWF World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania IV, defeating the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, in the finals of a tournament. This victory cemented him as one of WWF's top stars. Fans embraced Savage as a hero, cheering him alongside his Mega Powers partner, Hulk Hogan. The duo was a dream team, but their alliance eventually exploded in one of wrestling's most famous rivalries. Jealousy over Miss Elizabeth's involvement and Hogan's spotlight ignited their feud, culminating in the Mega Powers Explode storyline. Their showdown at WrestleMania V in 1989 was a massive box office success and drew huge media coverage, showcasing wrestling as mainstream entertainment. Throughout his career, Savage was known for his high-flying elbow drop, his intense promos filled with catchphrases like "Ooooh Yeah," and his unpredictable energy. He won multiple championships, including 2 WWF World Heavyweight titles, and later captured the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Behind the scenes, he was admired for his work ethic but also noted for his perfectionism, which sometimes caused friction with other wrestlers. Fans, however, adored his passion and charisma, often debating whether he outshined Hogan as the true face of the WWF's golden era. By the early 1990s, Randy Savage was more than a wrestler. He was a pop culture icon. His matches, rivalries, and larger-than-life character had defined an era, earning him a permanent place among wrestling's all-time greats. Behind the sunglasses, the flamboyant robes, and the booming "Ooooh Yeah" was a man whose personal life was as fascinating and complex as his career. Randy Savage, born Randall Mario Poffo, lived a life full of love, passion, challenges, and private battles that shaped who he was beyond the wrestling ring. One of the most defining aspects of Savage's personal life was his relationship with Miss Elizabeth Hewlett. Their on-screen partnership captivated millions, but off-screen they were husband and wife, having married in 1984. Fans adored the couple, often blurring the lines between reality and wrestling's storyline. When Savage and Elizabeth had their famous wedding at SummerSlam 1991, billed as the match made in heaven, many fans didn't realize the irony. The real marriage between the two had been unraveling. Savage's protective and sometimes jealous nature strained their relationship, and the pair quietly divorced later that same year. Despite the separation, their names would always be linked together in wrestling history. Away from the spotlight, Savage had a wide array of hobbies. He was passionate about baseball, a sport he never truly left behind after his minor league career ended. He remained an avid fan and often played recreationally with friends. Music was another love of his. In the early 2000s, he surprised fans by releasing a rap album titled Be a Man, which, while unconventional, showcased his creativity and willingness to step outside his wrestling persona. Savage also had a quieter side. He enjoyed painting and spending time in nature, a contrast to the wild, macho man image the world knew. Like many wrestlers of his generation, Savage endured significant physical struggles. Years of punishing matches and high-flying elbow drops took a toll on his body. He battled chronic pain and the lingering effects of injuries, yet he rarely showed weakness to the public. This determination sometimes came at a cost, as he pushed his body beyond its limits. Behind the scenes, he was also known to be intensely private, preferring to keep personal matters away from the media. Savage's life was not without controversy. Stories circulated about his controlling behavior toward Miss Elizabeth during their marriage, though friends also described him as deeply protective. His sudden departure from WWF in 1994 raised speculation and rumors that persisted for years, including alleged friction with Vince McMahon. Yet, despite scandals and rumors, Savage remained respected for his professionalism inside the ring. On the positive side, Randy Savage also had a charitable spirit. He was known for quietly supporting youth sports programs, and often visited hospitals to spend time with sick children, lifting their spirits with his larger-than-life personality. Though he didn't publicize these acts, those who witnessed them recalled his generosity and kindness. Later in life, Savage found peace in his second marriage to Lynn Payne, whom he wed in 2010. Away from the chaos of wrestling, he settled into a quieter existence in Florida, enjoying family life and privacy. Though his time was cut short by his untimely death in 2011, Randy Savage's personal life revealed a man of depth. Flawed, passionate, creative, and caring, whose legacy stretched far beyond the squared circle. Would you like me to also cover the death and legacy chapter, his passing, tributes, and long-term influence in 500 words to complete the biography series? You said later years retirement, what they did after wrestling, acting business, coaching, public appearances. Of 500 words, ChatGPT said, here's a 500-word narrative on Randy Savage's later years retirement. Later years retirement. By the mid-1990s, after nearly 2 decades of thrilling fans, Randy Macho Man Savage began transitioning out of full-time wrestling. Years of punishing elbow drops and grueling schedules had taken a toll on his body, and the industry itself was evolving. Savage, however, wasn't a man to fade quietly into the background. His post-wrestling years were filled with ventures in entertainment, business, and select public appearances that reminded fans of his enduring charisma. After leaving the WWF in 1994 under mysterious circumstances, Savage became one of the most high-profile signings for World Championship Wrestling (WCW). There, he continued wrestling into the late 1990s, engaging in feuds with stars like Ric Flair, Diamond Dallas Page, and Hulk Hogan. Savage captured multiple WCW World Heavyweight Championships, proving that even in his 40s, he was still a major draw. But as injuries accumulated, his in-ring appearances became less frequent. By the early 2000s, Savage quietly stepped away from wrestling altogether, though he never officially declared retirement. Outside the ring, Savage found new opportunities in acting and entertainment. His unique voice and over-the-top personality made him a natural fit for Hollywood cameos. Perhaps his most memorable role came in 2002, when he appeared in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, portraying the wrestler Bonesaw McGraw. The role was small but iconic, and fans delighted in seeing the Macho Man bring his wrestling bravado to the big screen. Savage also lent his voice to animated shows such as King of the Hill and Family Guy, where his exaggerated persona translated perfectly into comedy. Savage was equally active in business. He endorsed a wide range of products, most famously the Slim Jim snack brand. His Snap into a Slim Jim Commercials became cultural touchstones of the 1990s, introducing him to audiences who may not have followed wrestling. Even years after stepping out of the spotlight, his image was synonymous with the brand, a testament to his marketing appeal. While many retired wrestlers transitioned into coaching or behind the scenes roles, Savage largely avoided the wrestling industry in his later years. Unlike peers such as Ric Flair or Hulk Hogan, who made frequent returns, Savage preferred a more private lifestyle. He rarely made public appearances at wrestling conventions or reunion shows, which only added to his aura of mystery. Fans longed to see him inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, but his complicated relationship with Vince McMahon kept him at a distance from the company for years. Away from fame, Savage enjoyed a quieter life in Florida with his second wife, Lynn Payne, whom he married in 2010. He spent much of his later years enjoying family, traveling, indulging in personal hobbies such as baseball, music, and painting. Though he was largely absent from the wrestling spotlight, when he did appear, whether in commercials, film roles, or interviews, he was met with waves of nostalgia and admiration. Even in retirement, Randy Savage remained a larger-than-life figure. His charisma transcended wrestling, allowing him to leave a mark on pop culture through acting, advertising, and his unforgettable persona. The Macho Man may have stepped out of the ring, but he never stepped out of the hearts of fans who grew up idolizing him. The final chapter of Randy, Macho Man, Savage's life came suddenly and tragically. On May 20, 2011, Savage was driving with his wife, Lynn Payne, in Seminole, Florida, when he lost control of his Jeep Wrangler. He veered across the median and collided head-on with a tree. Though Lynn survived with minor injuries, Savage was pronounced dead at the age of 58. The medical examiner later revealed that he had suffered a sudden heart attack while driving, which likely caused the accident. News of his passing stunned the wrestling world and left fans across generations grieving the loss of one of the industry's most beloved icons. The reaction from the wrestling community was immediate and heartfelt. Fellow wrestlers and colleagues, from Hulk Hogan to Ric Flair, paid tribute to their former rival and friend. Hogan, with whom Savage had shared both a legendary partnership and bitter rivalry, admitted the news left him devastated. WWE held moments of silence and aired video packages honoring Savage's career, while fans flooded social media with memories, clips, and heartfelt tributes. For many, Savage's death felt like the end of an era, the loss of one of the brightest personalities of wrestling's golden age. Beyond the wrestling world, mainstream media outlets also reported on his passing, highlighting his crossover appeal. Newspapers and television programs remembered not just the Macho Man who headlined WrestleMania, but also the Slim Jim spokesman, the Spider-Man actor, and the larger-than-life character who had become a pop culture staple. His gravelly voice and catchphrases like, "Oh yeah," had transcended wrestling, making him a household name, even among those who had never watched a single match. Savage's legacy rests not only on championships and iconic rivalries, but also on the way he redefined what it meant to be a wrestler. He was a pioneer of in-ring storytelling, famously planning his matches move by move to ensure perfection. His classic bout against Ricky Steamboat at WrestleMania IV continues to be studied by aspiring wrestlers as a masterclass in psychology, pacing, and athleticism. His flamboyant costumes, charisma, and unpredictable promos influenced countless performers who followed. For years, fans clamored for his induction into the WWE Hall of Fame, which had been delayed due to long-standing tensions between Savage and WWE management. Finally, in 2015, 4 years after his death, Randy Savage was posthumously inducted, with his brother, Lanny Poffo, accepting the honor on his behalf. The induction was met with overwhelming applause, cementing his place among wrestling's immortals. Today, Randy Savage is remembered as more than just a wrestling superstar. He is celebrated as a cultural icon, a man who entertained millions with his energy, passion, and originality. Fans still wear his brightly colored bandanas and sunglasses at wrestling events, while his catchphrases echo in arenas, commercials, and internet memes. Though his life ended too soon, Randy Savage's impact remains timeless. He is remembered as one of the greatest performers to ever step into the ring, a man who combined athleticism, showmanship, and charisma in a way few could ever replicate. The Macho Man may be gone, but his legend lives forever.